All right. Everybody's on time. Look at this. The crew coming in. What's up, y'all?
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey. It's like the crew is coming in. Oh, look, we got all kinds of people in here. Look at this. Let's see if all 61 show up.
They coming. They coming.
Right. Hey, listen, I'm already happy with what we have right now. Look at Miss Kimberly.
Hey,
Hey.
I made it.
Yes, you did. I just like dropped a child off at practice and then ran home and all over the place right now.
I'm kid free today, so I'm enjoying. I'm going to
Must be
enjoy
nice.
Yes.
Must be nice.
Hello.
Hello, Monica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Probably at least a couple years pre-COVID.
Well, that's right. In person.
In person, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jamie's coming. Just gonna give it like a minute or so before we get started. I'm like trying to recover from a cold. So if y'all see me like come off camera or mute myself, it's probably because I'm either taking cough drops or tissue or something. So
I got a sinus infection.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I thought it was sinuses, but the pills weren't helping. So I'm like, it must be a cold. My son had it first, and then now I've got it, but this cough won't go away, and allergy pills weren't helping. So I'm now taking cough medicine.
Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
En route in the car, so my camera won't be on, and
No problem.
Mute, but I couldn't miss this.
No problem. I know. I finished yesterday, and that's why like Erica was putting out that thing about, oh, we still have one more day. I'm like, I'm still finishing Finding Me right now. So ain't no other books. I'm telling y'all, this is it for the month of May. Got 4 out of me, which is the most I've probably done in a long time. So hey, here we are. Hey, Brittany.
Hello.
Vanetta. Tanya coming in here. Diane, Nicole.
Right.
All right. I was trying to see. Jess usually is good about coming in here. I don't know if she didn't say she wasn't coming. Normally she has functions and stuff, but she'll text me and let me know she's not coming. So she might just be a few minutes late. All right. With that being said, it's a couple minutes after, so we can go ahead and get started. We are discussing Finding Me by Viola Davis. So good. 5-star. Oh, look, speak of the devil. There's Jessica right there. I'm gonna give her a second. Jess, I was just asking about you. I was like, where is Jessica? Like, she didn't say she wasn't coming.
I was driving and listening to Andre Leon Talley's book, and I said, "Oh shoot, it's 6:02." I'm gonna wave briefly.
Because I'm like, normally, normally Jess will text me if she's not coming. So I was like,
no, I'm here. I'm just going to pick up my sister from the. Good to see y'all too, hey, everybody. I'm going to pick my sister up from the hairdresser, so I'll probably be on after I do that. But while I'm driving,
I got 3 more.
I'm gonna be safe. And Blue is in the back. Say hey, Blue.
Aw, my fave. All right, got a couple more joining in here. I was just getting ready to kick it off. Just letting y'all know if my camera goes black at any time or I'm muted, because like I've got this cold going on, and so things are happening. So I may need to like just pop off for a second and let y'all talk on your own. So yes, we are discussing our May book of the month, Finding Me by Viola Davis. I finished yesterday, probably 10:30 at night, in between watching Bobby Brown last night and trying to get this done. At some point I had the audio. I did. I did both simultaneously. I did the physical copy, but I did listen to it. Had it on about 1.7 by the time I was finishing because I was trying to knock my hours down. But it was a really, really good story for me. 5-star read. And I think I love Viola Davis. Like, I love her and all of the things that she's in. And I've really just, as an actress, have really come to love her, but knew nothing about her story. So I knew that when this memoir was announced, like, I was like, this has got to be a book club read. Like, I just want to know more about her. And I think a lot of people, you know, share that in loving her as an actress and the things that she's in. So I was truly fascinated in reading this book and learning so much about her and like really how far she's come. Like, her story's incredible. Like, you know, you think that, well, me personally, like, you think you've been through some stuff and come through some childhood things, and then you listen to someone's story like that, and it's like, man, I wasn't going through nothing compared to that. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, like, from sexual assault to being chased every day after school by a group of boys and having to like fend for yourself, running with holes in your shoes in the snow. Like, it just, oh, look, guys. Okay, so I'm about to admit someone. It's a guy, though. I don't think we've ever had a guy in here, which is fine if he wants to be in here with a whole bunch of ladies. So be it, but I'm just letting y'all know I'm about to admit I'm about to admit a guy. He's going to be like,
you really? I already felt like get out. No.
Right. All right, I'm letting him in. Hang on. But I just felt like her story was so incredible. The rats really got to me. I was just like,
Oh my God.
I couldn't. The stories with the rats
and the reason they had to wet the bed, like that was the better option.
Because she want to get up out of the bed.
With the rats,
was crazy. And then not having any lights in the room, because I would have been sleeping with lights on, like, but even like if you're poor, you probably don't have the money to keep lights on all the time either. So the fact that like you're sleeping thinking about rats nibbling on your neck, that for me was just heartbreaking. I'm like, yo, that's all she could have wrote about, and I would have felt for her. Like, you've been through some things, you know, like that's all it would have taken for me. I don't know. What were y'all's initial thoughts?
I love the book. It was my first time ever listening to an Audible, because I said, I need to listen to a memoir on an Audible. And to hear her read it blew me away. But when I tell you, I cried through most of that book because it was just so powerful. And like you said, we didn't know nothing about her. Like when she talked about Antoine Fisher, I said, wait, that was her playing the mom at the table. Like, I was so thrown. But just hearing all the trauma and the fact that the dad would take her when he cheated. But I died laughing as soon as she got in the house. She was like, Mama, we was at so, like, she snitched so fast.
Yeah.
But it was some of her things with the abuse, because I was abused as a child, that I could relate to. And I think it like really like made me cry so hard. But it was such a good, oh my God. Anybody that did not like that book, I don't know what they read. It was just so good.
Yeah.
Nicole, that's Nicole, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you, and let me say this carefully, because the glad is not going to sound right when I finish, but I'm glad you spoke up, not glad you experienced abuse, but I'm glad you just spoke up. Thanks for being transparent with that.
Yes.
And that you said you loved the book, because I want to say it was in Book Club Magic, but there was a thread that was like, it was a trauma, it may not have been in the group. Does anybody remember? It was like, it was a trauma dump or something like that.
Yeah, a trauma porn.
Trauma porn.
Yes, trauma. Yes, trauma.
Yeah,
porn.
I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and I told her I was going to read it, and she's the one that said to me, like, "Oh, you know, people have reviewed it, and they said it's trauma porn." I'm like, "Trauma porn? I've never even heard that phrase."
I thought that was and I'm like, first of all, it's a memoir, so
it's a memoir. That's right.
I have a thing with memoir, so it's not like you can say, "Oh, they should have wrote that differently." It's her life. It's her story.
It's her story.
She lived this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
right.
and then and for the, I do understand trigger warnings. I even give a trigger warning with my book and haven't come close to experiencing anything like that, but just the rape and daddy things. So maybe the trigger warning, yes, but I was like, wow, to describe it like that, I felt like, okay, maybe I haven't, maybe it didn't trigger enough. So the fact that, Nicole, you shared that and you're like, I was abused, but I loved it. Like you can appreciate the experience. That made me think of that. So I just wanted to, I don't know, put that out there.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. They may not speak on it every day, but yeah, like it to me, I mean, I've gone through my own trauma like that as a young child. And not many of us talk about the abuses that we've been through. And I think seeing someone like Viola be brave, and I think it was really bold to even talk about her own brother.
Oh, wait.
And the trauma that he caused her and her sisters. Like,
yes,
that's someone that's closely related to her, that can be looked up, that like potentially could ruin, his life for the people that know him. But to expose him like that, I was just like, I mean, kudos to her. It was part of her story for not bottling that up. But it was definitely something that I'm glad that she discussed and wasn't afraid to discuss.
Me too.
And when she brought it up to her mom, that had to be
yeah.
And I wondered whether or not she discussed the book with her mother and her sisters prior to publishing, because some of the things she revealed in there about her life and about her upbringing with them was not very did not reflect very well upon them. And so I wondered, after reading, what was their take on her level of transparency in the book. I also wondered, and I wonder if it's just me, did any of you think that perhaps maybe something wasn't quite all there with her mom? Because I just kept thinking maybe mom wasn't quite all the way there growing up, because some of the things she experienced and that her mom was there just kind of seemed like, Mom, what were you doing when all of this was going on?
But I've heard other people's stories.
I think she was just surviving.
She had her own trauma.
Trying her, yeah.
Trying to survive with that many kids, figure out where your next meal is coming from. There probably was just so much going on. She was just trying to make a way.
And the loss of the youngest baby, her being blamed for the loss of the youngest baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 years old, that's a lot.
And you got a husband breaking 2x4s over you. I mean,
yeah. And then the thing for me too is like how he did a complete 180 later in life, and then just became this man that completely adored her and was so apologetic. And they said he was still drinking at that point, but those violent rages of anger that he went through like just completely disappeared. So in my mind, I almost wanted, like, what was that breaking point for him that he finally just stopped?
And when he got sick older, I was hoping like Viola was gonna say at some point the mama like got revenge on the daddy, like pushed him down the stairs, or when he had to pee, like locked the bathroom door. Like she did nothing. Like she was still his loyal wife the whole time.
Sometimes people are taught that like no matter what you're going through, you're bound by this marriage and these vows, and like you have to stick by his side. And honestly, where would she have gone, right? Because she wasn't working, right? He was the provider. What really could she have done? It didn't sound like they had family close by that she could just go to. It didn't seem like she had friends or anybody that she could turn to. So really, if she had the mindset to escape, where's she going? So a lot of times that's a factor.
And I'm gonna give an interesting, only because it did cross my mind, because I had those, you're listening in with those same questions, and I'm a woman of faith. Now, obviously, I'm divorced and married again, but you know how, like in the Bible, it's like pray, the saved wife, like pray your spouse, pray and pray and pray, and God can change the heart and yada yada.
Yep.
Maybe she got what she prayed for. Maybe God answered, and that he turned over a new leaf, and that was what she wanted.
But it seemed like,
I mean, we never know, but
no, it's just, you just never know. You never know. And obviously money was a factor for them as a family with him working. Like you know, where could you go? And then you wouldn't want to leave your children. Like she had quite a few kids, so it's like she'd either have to take them and find shelter and be able to provide for them. But so I guess the best thing for them was to just stay put.
And it sounds like going back.
I agree with that, but at the same time, now I forgot my train of thought. Sorry.
No problem. Just let us know if it comes back.
But it sounds like too, she didn't really have an option to go back home, because remember she left the oldest 2 kids there. They were getting beaten in school, you know, like, so it's just like everywhere you look, there's no protection, there's no safety. So it's kind of like before, the saying is like, I'm gonna get it wrong because I always get everything wrong, but it's like, go with the devil, you know, like you know he's
the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Yeah. So it feels like that's what she did.
Protector of those kids too, though, because I mean, I guess there were 1 or 2 that were with a family member, and she heard they were getting abused at school, and you know, that part. And there were just so many instances where she stood up for them. I mean, when Viola was being violated in the store.
Yeah.
And after
that creeped me out, because I didn't grow up in that area. That would be more so like probably my mom, like when she grew up as a child, right? But to see that like people are like, oh, here's a quarter, like give me a kiss, like that. And then the guy in the store was just like, oh yeah, that man does it all the time.
Oh
like,
yeah, he always do that.
That was the part. He always
like you're
does
witnessing.
that.
Yeah, you're witnessing it and letting him continue to do that. Like I was so glad that her mom came down to that store and like got him arrested, because Lord, like that just blew my mind.
And I was thinking, just assuming, of course, was this a white person that owned the store? Like thinking that that's okay just because she's Black, or, you know, it just made you think.
He didn't want to call on his own and get his own arrested or whatever. Yeah.
And think about that too, being like the only Black family there, because even her classmate, remember, she called him out Black, and that was like the death of him. He was like, these white people don't know I'm Black, like, you know, like, what are you
the Portuguese
a secret or something. I've been exposed, you know.
Right.
Right.
Like,
he's the same color as her. Like, really?
Right. But they didn't figure it out. Like
yeah, it just made me very sad, because it just seemed that they were so hopeless and they had no help. They had no one to turn to. They didn't have anyone to rally for them. And that just made me sad as a child, because I know, like, we didn't grow up with the best. I mean, we grew up pretty poor. So some of the that you talked about kind of triggered some things in me, and kind of brought back some memories that I had suppressed for a very long time. But also remember, as those memories were coming back, you know, we also had others who would come, and not just, you know, it may not have been the best, but they were support to our family as we experienced different challenges. So it just made me sad that they did not have they didn't have any sense of community, and they didn't have anyone around to offer them that support. Because I just could not imagine growing up dealing with all of this, and with the exception of the people in your household experiencing the same thing, there's nobody else out there really uplifting and supporting and trying to hold your family up.
She got a little bit with that teacher. The teacher that took clothes and stuff like that.
I talked to her about the hygiene.
And with the clothing and stuff.
And to me, it's like, you know, you've got to know that her siblings are all in the same school. And if all the teachers are talking about it, like, for me, it was like, why didn't y'all piece together that there's obviously something going on within the home that needs to be addressed, or maybe they need help. Like, I just wish that other than
pieced
cornering
it together.
The two, it was one other sister,
they were the
right?
Black family, the poor family. They pieced it together. What was they gonna do?
Yeah.
But the handouts,
you know.
Yeah. And I don't know. Did y'all
like
watch
if they really wanted to help them, it could have been, hey, try to come to school like 20 minutes early. I help you. You know, like we could go, you know, I can wash your clothes for you. I'll wash you up, you know. I feel like that's a help. But again, with them being, like you said, the poor Black family, it's easier just to be like, oh, that's just how those people live. You know, like you can't help those people. That's how they want to live. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe my timing was off as I was reading it, because I know it was like she would jump kind of back and forth, but maybe this was my perception. It kind of seems to me that her and her family just really came over the hump recently. Like they were still struggling for quite some time, because I remember when she said she got with her husband, and the sister's husband was still on the drugs, and they were going to take care of the family. So I was like, I don't recall her saying a date, but I was like, this seems so much recent, because I could have swore that she just recently got married. Maybe my timing was wrong, but it was just kind of like, wow, like she was still persevering through all of this, and she was still trying to get roles, because I didn't think her marriage was that long ago.
I didn't think so either, but I think she said
17 years.
2003.
I was thinking that for some reason.
But she's had several ceremonies, so I know that she had a big one recently, which had celebrities and stuff there, so that might be like what's fresh in our minds. But I think she said the initial one was like 2003 or something like that.
And I think she did jump back and forth. I think she did jump back and forth. But I know when my mom and other people tell their stories, they don't tell it in a linear fashion.
Right.
They, as they want to, or what they recall or whatever, all over the place, like she did.
And so the back and forth wasn't a big deal for me, because I really identified. She and I are like the same age, so I'm old. Okay, you guys. So
no, you're not.
Was giving his points of reference. It was kind of like in my mind, okay, I'm going back to 76, or when you were in the 3rd grade or whatever, because I'm at that same point in my life, kind of imagining what I was dealing with at that point in time. But I guess the difference for me is that I live in the South. And so, in the South, we are big religious, Bible Belt, everybody goes to church. So if you're experiencing hardship or things of that nature, there's the church that's always there to give some sort of support. So, I guess perhaps that was maybe a missing link in their life growing.
Right. Because I don't remember any reference to church.
Right.
Well, the one time when they went to the Catholic church and they were trying to have a little food, and when they figured it out, remember they put them out?
That was Easter.
Yeah.
Cassandra just said, in the 7th grade, a male classmate was identified as being eligible for the NAACP award. He was light-skinned with sandy hair and presented as obviously Black. He stood up and said, "I'm not Black, I'm white Panamanian."
What?
Yeah, Keela said, wow. Like, yeah, wow. That's
wow.
I don't know if it was in Book Girl Magic or another book I saw, where people were saying that Viola, because of how much she was taunted about her skin color, that's why she adopted a light-skinned daughter. I've never seen her daughter. I've never seen her daughter, but I was like her.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I was interested. I meant to Google what Genesis looked like, but yeah, I didn't know.
She's light skinned, but I think she was just available, and she fell in love with her in the foster care system. I don't think it had anything to do with skin. At that point, I think she would have taken a baby of any color. She just was ready to be a mother.
Agreed.
And honestly, like the financial aspect of it, Viola has the means to provide her a good life despite her skin color. So I don't think, for me, I don't think that was really a factor of who she ended up adopting. But money makes a difference too. Also, like,
well, she had that quote. I was actually just listening to it when her parents got that $3,000 gas bill or light bill, whatever it was, and she only had like 100 in her account. And she's like, I'm thinking that money and success would help take care of these problems, but the fact is, if you have all these underlying issues, it won't. And they did, right? Like, they are constantly in poverty, the cycle is continuing, there's drug addiction, and it's like, you can have money, and if people are not willing to move out. I know I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, and it was just like, you had to have this mentality, like, I can do more, I can be better, I can get out and have a different life. But it's like the people in her family just didn't want that. They wanted, they probably saw her making money and was like, oh, she'll just send me what I need.
It's kind of an example too of to see how, like, you can come from the same situation and make different choices in your life, like one sister being on drugs and then her brother. And then, you know, she was successful. So it's kind of interesting to see the different paths that her and her siblings have taken. And I wish that they would have elaborated on a couple of her sisters that seemed to go on the right path. Like, I wish she would have talked more about that and their lifestyle. But I mean, I felt for the parents, because it's like, you've had this hard life, you've tried to raise all of your children being poor, living through these circumstances, and then it's like you never catch a break, because now your kids are having, you know, kids, and they can't take care of them. So it's like it was a constant cycle their entire lives until they died, of just taking in people and you know, not being able to really afford. Like at one point they said something about like 14 or 17 people living in one
Like
house.
In that one house.
What?
Apartment.
Yeah.
It's like they never got a break. Their kids grew up and then they repeated the cycle all over again. It's like
At all. And I kind of like, parts of me was like, well, why didn't Viola do more? You know what I mean? To try to at least get them a bigger space. But I also understand that like that's not her job to do that. But I also felt like there had to have been something that they could have done, you know.
But
They
I
said
think
they couldn't
I
find
feel
an
like
apartment
in the
with a
book that
cost
she
for
wrote
more that area or
Right.
something.
They didn't even right. I think they didn't want a bigger space. They didn't want to move. I think she mentions that in the book.
Yeah.
They didn't want to move.
Yeah.
They like
Yeah,
how old
they
people
said they
get
didn't want to
set in their
move, and
ways.
the fact that it was hard to find a place
For all of
fit
them.
all those people.
accommodate so
I
many
guess
people.
without her actually buying a house, it was hard to find an apartment.
Yeah.
And if you don't
I guess
get
the flip side is that you find a house.
together, all you're gonna do is move into a bigger place and have different problems with
Yeah.
Or maybe
that
move
you
into a
can't
bigger
afford to
place and
pay
then have
for.
more people.
Yeah.
You know?
More people, and then it's like furniture wasn't being taken care of. Remember, she was
Yeah.
like stuff getting broken.
And it's like the
Because,
more you
like,
give,
anything-
the more people are going to ask of you too, in
Yeah.
a, you know, a sense. So I get not wanting to be taken advantage. I just felt so bad for her parents, because it was like the dad's finally doing right. They're trying to get to a good place, and it's just constant like battles that they were having to deal with.
Help. They wanted to help the ones that came after, the grandkids and the siblings that weren't doing okay. The mother and father were just like in it and didn't want to leave anybody abandoned or left out. That's what they want.
And I was
she had boundaries.
I was wondering if that was their parental guilt for, you know, the way they raised their children. So they felt like they were going to make up for it as the children got older with the grandkids. I kept thinking, you know, maybe I'm going to let my grandkids live, but you adults, you're going to have to try and figure something else out. Take care of the grandkids, but come on, adults on drugs and bringing everybody else in here.
In the house, right.
But sometimes it has to do with heredity and addictive personalities. And I think that was the place the father was in. So those siblings that got on drugs, I think they could have had, you know, addictive personalities like he did. And I'm pretty sure what the last person just said, him having guilt about that, had something to do with that.
Yeah.
I sided with this whole story, because even from like the third grade, people used to pick on me all the time, and I didn't understand why. And I had a whole bunch of siblings, but nobody bothered them. They bothered me. And like, we lived in New York, and it was just constant, and it was boys picking on me. Like, they took my coat off, threw it in the street, pushed me around and stuff. And I didn't understand that. But then again, also too, well, I grew up in a single parent home, and it was like a lot of us. Okay. I don't know why, but every 2 years, my father would go to Jamaica, come back, have another kid, go to Jamaica, come back. She wound up with 13 kids. Okay. So
wow.
yeah, 13 kids. So she's still living, but he's not. And, you know, like, then also, like, I always said to myself when I was 9 years old, I'm not going to be on welfare. I'm not going to live here. I'm not going to do this. And it's that frame of mind that you have to have. And then what happens is, when you finally make your way out of it, you have siblings always, can I have? And you don't know how to say no, because you don't want your family to do bad. But then it's like, I have my own family.
Right.
I need help. You know, I'm a single mother. You know, I raise my boys by myself and stuff. And it's like, no, I can't help y'all no more.
I have a similar,
yeah,
I have a similar situation where, you know, my dad has 6 kids too. And so like, my dad's originally from Trinidad. So you have kids from Trinidad that aren't living as well as some of us that are in Canada and the States. So they look at me as like the rich sister. And I got to the point where I just I don't really know them like that. Like I've only met them in person a couple of times, but it got to a point where I had to like, stop accepting Facebook messages because you're talking about flying in to see my kids and come stay and hang out. I'm like, I don't know you. Like I've literally never met you in person. I've seen you on Facebook once or twice. I know that we're related because, my dad or whatever, but it's like, I don't know you, but they look at me as like the rich American sister. And I'm like, I'm not, I'm not like, but it's just that, like you said, that mindset where they're like, oh my gosh, she's got it going on. And it's like, no, not really. But yeah,
Well,
you gotta watch people.
I thought her boundaries were pretty well set when she got married, and she was like, none of my family was really there because they couldn't afford to get there, and I wasn't bringing them. And I was like, that was a clear indication of where her boundaries lie. Because I mean, if you're not going to bring them for your wedding, there's probably not much else that you're going to be willing to bend on.
Then you make them
it just seems like a special occasion, but
just take them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. It's too many of them.
I mean, it was going to be like her dad's funeral. If they have to buy the plane tickets, she was going to have to buy clothes. She was going to have to pay for them somewhere to live. And at some point, it just becomes so much. I mean, when she said her father passed and they literally did not have anything to wear to the funeral. And we're talking several years ago. We're not talking about 20 years ago. Because I think
2006. 2006.
They did not have clothes to wear to the funeral. And I just think that was just, showing them just staying entrenched in that cycle of poverty and not knowing how to get out. And if resources were there, not accepting the resources that were being offered to them to help them get out of that cycle.
Did she buy them?
I just said she'll do it.
Did she buy them clothes for the funeral?
Yes,
she did.
They didn't have clothes. It wasn't that they didn't have dressy clothes. They didn't have clothes.
Right.
Clean clothes to wear.
Yeah.
So she bought all of them just regular clothes.
So do you think that some of the things the sisters saw caused them to be addicted to drugs? Because I just think about that one scene where Dad, I think he had beat the mom so bad and she ran to the store and was hiding in the store, and she wouldn't go to the hospital unless Viola got in the car with her. So I might be mixing two of the times that he, but I was just wondering, like, seeing all of that, I wonder, do you think that might have caused the siblings to fall prey to other things, that maybe that's why the parents didn't put them out, because they might feel like what we did pushed them to go seek, comfort in other things? Because when I read that scene, I was just like, I mean, my mouth was just open, like, wait, she was bleeding like that, and everybody just walked like it was a normal thing. Like, wait a minute,
And then the sister told her dad where she was.
I'm like, let's go run and tell Dad. I was like, no, don't do that.
It
sounds like she was one inside all the time. So it may have become something where they're like, okay, we've seen this lady, but she keeps going back. Like, so it may be something where people is turning a blind eye, because for years now we've seen him whooping her tail. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds odd. Like, I could never just walk by and be like, oh my God, she looks like she's in danger. Let me go to the buffet. Like, I feel like it's something I would want to do.
Yeah, that's common though. Yeah, that whole you end up the boy who cried, what, so to speak, right? People are like, she's just gonna go back. Like, why are you gonna go through all of that? And she's just gonna go back. And then there was, I think it might have been the store incident you brought up earlier. No, I'm not sure what the incident was, but the youngest sister, I can't remember, that there was something happened that she did note she was never the same after that. Does anybody remember that? What the actual incident was?
That's the one where the guy, she was also
the crazy guy was running after her or something.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's what it was.
Oh yeah, the homeless guy or whatever, the guy that ate the cat.
And then he snapped the cat's neck.
Yeah.
Gross.
When I was reading that part, I thought she was like telling a story. Like, I had to go back. I was like, he was real.
Yeah,
like I
thought it was like a movie or something. I'm like, this can't be real.
Like, oh my gosh.
The youngest sister was one of the ones that was addicted to drugs, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I felt like it was because everybody was so much older than her that there was nothing left in the house to protect her or kind of guide her. Her parents were probably exhausted at that point, taking care of yet another child. There was probably already grandchildren at that point. Like, so she probably didn't get, you know, her fair shake of parenting, like, or guidance. Like her siblings didn't, just like they all stuck together when the rats were, they had each other, that sisterhood she talks about in that chapter.
Right. Yeah.
Her being the youngest, yes, they would come back home on weekends from school, but I don't think that she had somebody to really guide her all of the time like they had each other.
And I did you get the sense that she felt guilty about that? She felt guilty about that.
Yes,
I did.
I got that
because she would ask to stay with her at the school and everything.
She cried on the phone telling her to come get her.
And I was actually quite impressed with Viola and how she, like, her relationship choices, even though she had that 7-year relationship, I felt like she could have put up with much worse than she did. So, and then, you know, for the next person basically to be her husband, like, I was very proud of that, because when you are used to seeing something in a way of life, sometimes that becomes the norm, and you sometimes think that that's okay to adapt in your own life, right? So I was, honestly, it's like hats off to you for being able to find love in somebody who treats you right and who is a complete gentleman. I know she said her prayer and stuff
She
like
broke
that.
the cycle.
She did.
And she was in therapy. She talks about how therapy got her ready. I think it was one part in the book where someone made the comment that, you know, Julius made her life better. And she was like, no, I made my life better, and Julius is the prize or something. I was like, yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't him. She did the work, and she had made, you know,
wasn't he in therapy
with those demons?
Wasn't he in therapy as well?
I don't remember that.
I don't recall seeing that.
He went to church, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
He took her to church.
I love the way she talks about him, especially when she does the Southern accent here.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody watched the special, but when she talks like him, it's like, I love you.
Right.
That's me, V. That's me.
And him running outside with the bat.
That's what I was about to say. I love that. I loved it.
He was such a breath of fresh air, because, you know, her whole life she grew up being called ugly and all of these different things, and then it's like to have this guy from off the jump to be like, man, you're just so beautiful, like you're it.
It's like
that was so awesome.
It was like no protector, and then here he comes, and he is this fantastic person and protector, and he's just everything. And they, you know, Sierra talks about her prayer. No, Viola had the prayer. That's the prayer that I want.
And I like that she didn't have her guard up too much either.
Thank you, Renee. That's what I was about to say. And what could have happened is he runs out with the bat, but she's like, give me the bat. Like, I got this. I took care of myself all this time. Like she was able to receive that and yield to that. Like, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to, you know, I can relax and let this man protect me.
Yeah.
And that not be taboo.
She tried to resist a little bit with him, like trying to pick her up and all that kind of stuff too. But eventually she kind of let him be a man and court her and treat her like she deserved to be treated. So I love seeing that.
Yeah. I know some of us had asked a question or mentioned about her sister. There was an article about 2 weeks ago that someone had done on her oldest sister. Remember, her sister came and was kind of surprised to find the condition in which they were living. And she was like, we're going to college because we're not going to live like this. We're going to. And so her oldest sister actually went back to the town where they lived, and she is like a really highly respected educator there. And so she seems to be doing well.
Good.
That was one of my favorite parts, was where the sister came to live with them, and where you said she was surprised about how they were living, but she took it upon herself to teach them everything that she was learning and just took them under her wing. And that was one of my favorite parts. And also where Viola, I guess, found her voice in her grandmother's voice. It was like, my grandmother's voice was so regal and whatnot. And then she said, and it's my voice.
Yeah.
And that's what I always think about her voice. I'm like,
that was beautiful.
She never heard what we hear, because God, her voice is regal.
Yeah.
I just think she's regal. She's gorgeous. I don't know how she could have ever thought she wasn't beautiful.
Right.
Because that's not what society teaches us.
Exactly. But I was blessed.
You're ugly and all this other stuff.
Well, I had a little auntie who was dark skinned, and from birth, she would tell us, you're beautiful. I'm beautiful. I don't care what other people say. I think another thing that kind of strikes me about the book is Viola is only like 5 years older than me, and was born like 15 minutes from where I live, and I'm like, how different. Times where I would have never thought,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, Viola is our cousin. I'm sure she's related to Keela and myself.
Yes, she is.
Because my family is actually from Calhoun County, like from St. Matthews.
Too. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So my dad had
absolutely
a store.
Crazy that she was born like
right
maybe
there.
10 minutes from my grandparents' house.
Yep.
Maybe.
Oh, that's your cousin then. That's your play cousin.
That's my cousin. Like I mean, there's no way she could not be my cousin. So
yeah. I mean, my mom taught school in St. Matthews and Cameron. My first few years of life was in Cameron. My dad had a shoe shop in St. Matthews. I'm pretty sure that we're related. I'm just going to claim it. Yeah.
Yep.
Hilarious.
Keila, I don't know why I thought you were from Orangeburg.
I am born and raised. Still here.
Okay.
Know about Orangeburg? What? Nobody.
So we'll talk later about whether or not you knew Angela Clark.
She's my neighbor. She was my neighbor.
Okay.
And she was 2 years ahead of me in high school. Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Look at y'all going down memory lane. Did any of y'all have a chance to watch the Oprah and Viola special on Netflix?
No. Not yet.
I watched it last night.
Good.
It was good. Yeah. And I finished it this morning actually because I was getting tired, but definitely check that out. She elaborates a little bit more on it. And to me, it was kind of sad, like, because you could just see it in her eyes as Oprah's asking. Like, to me, it looked like she was almost teary-eyed the entire time talking about this. Like, Oprah's asking her questions, and you could just see it in her eyes. Like, she's holding her composure, but you can just see that emotion is still so raw for her. But definitely check it out. I think it's like 50 minutes, maybe something like that. But, they kind of dive deeper into the things that are discussed in the book. So it's definitely worth watching.
Does she talk more about her grandparents? Because that whole scene in the beginning with the mother being blamed for the sister, like, I could not get over that. As I was ending the book, I was still waiting for her to go back to that and say, like, did they explain to the mother ever that it really wasn't her fault? Like when she said that her mother actually only ended up being about 3 around that time. Like, I just was still like, did anybody go back and tell her, that really wasn't your fault? You were 3. You couldn't even take care of yourself. Like, did she talk about that with Oprah or no?
No.
No. But didn't somebody tell her that? Viola told her that.
Viola told her that.
Yeah, but nobody.
She still could see that her mom wasn't accepting what she was saying. She was just kind of like, yeah, okay. So she just kind of, was stuck with that guilt. What a life. Like her mom, like her as a person, like what she went through as a child, losing a sibling through that fire, and then just the abuse and trying to raise these kids. And it's just, I can't imagine. Like her mom's story to me was fascinating. It just is fascinating.
Yeah. I wish there was more about the story. And a part that I read like a couple of times is when she was asking her mom if she cheated on the father. Because she wanted her mother, like, I'm sure she didn't want her mother to cheat on her father, but she just was so desperate for her mother to have some sort of joy in her life. And she's like, no, but I had a crush on the gynecologist. I'm like,
right.
It's like, how sad is that for a child to wish that her mother had an affair so that she could be happy when she's married to her father? It was,
I guess she just saw the good treatment. So of how that man treated her mom. So she just wanted her to have some joy, because it seems like everything else was trauma and just pain and hurt that she's experienced most of her life. And again, even as Viola and her siblings were out of the house and adults, her parents are still starting all over again, taking care of kids again and helping siblings that can't get on their own 2 feet again. So it was just like, she couldn't catch a break.
She really couldn't.
After reading her story, Right. After reading her story, I thought back to like, remember in Scandal when Cicely Tyson was playing her mom and she had to relive like trauma that happened in her house growing up when her mama would come. And I was like, I bet you those was real tears. Like, I bet she was like, really like, no, this is her and Cicely's relationship was just so. And my cousin was telling me that at the beginning of Cicely book, Viola does it. So I have to listen to Cicely's book so I can hear it.
She
but
does.
I was just thinking, like, I bet you she pulled all of that up because that scene was so full of emotions. Like, I bet you she uses that in her acting. She has to use all of that when she's acting.
Well, I'm sure she does. And didn't she also said that she intentionally, like, she worked with them a lot on How to Get Away with Murder too.
Yeah, that wig scene has stuck with me since the time that I watched it live on television. And I'm so glad that she mentioned it because it was such a powerful scene of her just ripping off the lashes and the wig and taking off the makeup and just raw being her.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that.
I love that. And it's so relatable, right? Like, it's how I feel going to work in corporate America every day. Like, I'm presenting myself as this. I'm
putting on a mask.
I'm like, you know, like I have to get stuff done and do 10 times more than somebody else. By the time I get home, I'm exhausted. Like, girl, take this bra off, take this wig off, and let me lay down.
Right?
I just shared on that.
Get back, put it in a pony, you know, put some clothes, glasses on, and okay, I'm gonna be me with the Book Girl Magic Club because you know you get tired of that facade.
Just the code switching. Yes, the code switching alone. I did a mental wellness talk just earlier, and I was talking about how the difference is.
We see you, Jessica.
It's ended up being a race thing, but there's so much that we just get used to that we don't even know when you step back from it. It's taking like the anxiety and taking a toll on us. Just the code switching alone, we get used. I just do it, right? Like, I've been in corporate for since 19 years old. But when you step back and think about that, it's like, what? You change the way you talk every single day. Like, you can't be you you can't just say what you want because you don't want to be the angry Black woman on the call. Like,
right.
That's crazy when you think about it, what that does over time.
Right. I've personally been seeing that. I recently started a new position April 1st. And so my replacement is a girl that worked with me this entire time. And she literally just put her resignation in a week ago because she said, one, I made it look too easy. And then two, she's like, I'm just tired of being abused and disrespected. Mind you, she's been calling in every day. So she hasn't been through not even anything close. Yeah. So, and then you're complaining to me about it. So it's just like, are you serious? Like, you're just going to leave 16 years of the job because somebody said something. And of course she's white. So if somebody said something to you and you didn't like how they said it.
Well, let me ask you all this. Did any of you find it odd that she didn't mention anything other than her nuclear family about any other family members, like the South Carolina family or family?
I did, because I wanted to know, like, where was the help? Where was there anybody that could have, was there anybody that existed that could have helped them at all? Whatsoever?
I don't think that there was, because I've seen her speak about her parents and where they're from before, and they were literally from like a plantation in the South.
And she was born on a plantation.
Yeah, like her family, like she recently, if I'm not mistaken, I could be getting this wrong, I think she like purchased the house, or she did something recent in the last few years. So I just don't think that there was a support system, period. I think there was just a long line of struggle, undereducated, struggle, just poverty, and there was no support system whatsoever. And then you got to think about it, they're not even living in the same state. So there was nothing there.
That's what I was thinking, was the inability for, even if there was support or some kind of intervention, they couldn't get to them.
Right.
And the family couldn't get down to, I mean, her nuclear family couldn't get down to them probably. They couldn't even afford lights and water.
Right.
So,
right.
Because remember when the house caught on fire?
To tell somebody something was going on.
Yeah, they had to walk blocks to the hospital.
Yeah. And it was like every time something happened, they went back. The house caught on fire, but they went back to live in the house. I was like, the house was caught on fire. So it couldn't have been livable.
Right.
And y'all
Several
have to
times.
I was just baffled. And then the neighbor who didn't want the kids to play with them, and then they thought he killed the dog. Oh, that was
yeah.
Like he was like a what do they call the dogs now that give you comfort? I forget what they call
dog.
Support dog. So the dog was like a support dog for them, and it was like taken away from her. Like everything just kept getting taken away. And like you said, she had no support. The teachers, I'm a teacher, and I wanted to punch every teacher in that book. Like, are y'all serious?
I did too.
or trauma.
But I
So
want
How to Get Away with Murder, I was behind the last 2 seasons, and because of everything else that's been on, I just never went back and watched them. So of course it's been in my list, and of course reading this has made me go back, but I went back a season because I couldn't remember season 4. And every time I see pretty much like her parents, I think about her parents in the book, how it went full circle. She started out, so in love with Cicely Tyson from seeing her acting, and then getting to be able to work with her and as her mom, and especially somebody was talking about on the scene with where there was the crossover with Scandal, where her parents visited. It's like every scene now I think about something that's happened in the book with her parents. I compare them, and then with whatever trauma is going on, it's a lot of very similar to what she's endured in life.
And it's funny you say that too, because the book, I didn't do the audio because I got the book for Mother's Day. So I was like, dang it, I was really going to do the audio. But it's okay.
Now I feel like I have to do the audio book. Oh,
the audio was great.
It's good.
In my mind, every time like she was saying something her mom said, I kept thinking it in Cicely Tyson's voice. And I was like, girl, that was
me too.
Like I just kept doing her, like, like when you're listening to the sounds. I was like, oh my goodness, that was TV. But it's like
her imitations were great.
Be her mom so bad, like
the way she imitates Julius and her mom. It's hilarious.
Viola.
Can we talk about the opening line in the book and on the audio?
Cocksucker.
Oh my God, she has such a potty mouth, and she curses
Listen.
with ease. I'm just like,
I
oh
loved
my God.
it.
I did too.
She
opened that book on Sunday. Was
and
like,
they were
what
like,
did I
man,
get
you know
into?
how to cuss? She was like, I sure do love it. Like she does it with a passion.
So normally I would like let my 10-year-old son, he loves to listen to books with me, but I always try it out. I tried this one first, and that first line, I was like, I would be a bad mother if I
You're like on the next
because I listened to it at work, and I'm like, oh, it's Viola Davis. She's so elegant and regal. Right. It's not gonna be nothing. So my kids were coming into my classroom and they were eating breakfast. So I pressed play, and it was like cocksucker. I was like,
Yeah, that was me too. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I had seen y'all's reviews from the day the book came out, but I always have to read mine a few days before book chat, so it's fresh on my mind. And so I just didn't know what to expect. Like the Viola that I look at on TV and see is just so glamorous and so awesome, and I just love what she represents. And so to like see this, like her raw story, and it was just, to me, I was just amazed, like, wow, you like went through all of that, overcame all of that, and still became what you are today. That was just incredible to me. It was, I wasn't expecting this at all.
Her humility, that's it's also consistent with what we see. Like, it wasn't like, wow, she acts so this and that, and she came from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, she gives you very human vibes still,
right?
Which I like. Which I like about her, like that down to earth. Because I even with Instagram, I'm always like, does she really do her Instagram? But now I'm like, I think she does. Because some people, it's not really them posting. But she stayed very down to earth. I really do like her.
I loved how she addressed the things that we've all kind of talked about, like, the help. She was like, we weren't ready for the help, but I took that and translated it into turning Annalise into who I thought a developed character should be. She talked about how bad she walks, because everybody talks about how bad she walks. She's like, I got flat feet and I got a bunion. Okay. And I was like, I appreciate that she's not glossing over. She's like, I know y'all out there talking stuff about me. Let me go ahead and address the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that was my only. Yeah, I think my only gripe about the book is I wish she would have talked more about the help, because for me, that for me was the moment that Viola became a household name to me. Like watching her in the help, that role that she played, like that to me was the moment that she became a star in my mind. And like became someone that I was like, okay, this is someone to watch out for. So I wish that she would have elaborated on her experience with that role in that movie a little bit more, just because that's, to me, like, I read that book because I saw the movie and I saw her in it and I was like, oh, I want to know more. But she was just so amazing in that, in that role. And it's like, how much do people like quote her in that, you smart, like everybody said those lines, I mean, she was absolutely incredible.
And I guess the lesson for me was that sometimes we think that if we haven't achieved certain goals by certain ages, that, we can't do it or we should just give up. And I just think her story was just such a testament and perseverance and courage, despite the fact that people were telling her, you don't fit this standard and you should not be here. She continued and defined what she would be as a Hollywood icon.
Yeah. I love hearing about her journey. Like when she told the story about her Juilliard audition and how she was like, listen, I didn't know nothing about this audition.
Right.
And
Y'all
I went
got
in
5
there and told
minutes to
them
make a
people,
decision.
I gotta get back to the bus. Like, I gotta get back to my job. Like, what y'all gonna do? You want me or not? Like, I love that she was, bold enough to say, like, hey, this is the situation. What we gonna do, y'all? Like, it don't take all that to make a decision.
Yeah.
I like that part. Yeah.
That was bold. And honestly, like the fact that she only had money to submit like one application and it just all worked out for her. Like it was pretty amazing to see her stories.
And I like that part too about when she did talk about the help, the fact that in hindsight, she's like, there's no way. I think the undercurrent of what she was saying was, if my parents had been presented with the opportunity to take money for something, there's no way that people who are suffering and not able to provide would have said, no, I just want to do this for the good. No, I need to pay the bills. I need to feed the children. I'm going to take this money.
Right.
And she's like that altruistic part, that wasn't real. And regretted that. That also wasn't how it was written into the book. But.
Yeah.
Was
and
anyone
just
else?
her
I'm sorry.
As a Hollywood, struggling, getting started in Hollywood, and the poverty and, just that. I mean, we always hear it, but she went a little more in depth. And I guess part of when I looked at her Oprah special, and as Renee indicated earlier, you could just see the raw emotion, because we have read so many memoirs, but I don't think, people kind of gloss over what they experienced as a child. I have yet to read a memoir that has gone from someone of her stature that has gone into, okay, this is what my life was really like. Not like we were just poor. No, we were poor like this.
Right. As Oprah said,
po. Oprah had, she was like, we were poor, but
poor, you were po. Yeah.
And you knew it.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to ask. Was anybody surprised about the statistic that she put about actors, and only like 95% of them are employed and 1% make $50,000 or more a year? Is that not the craziest thing ever?
And it's funny because I read that yesterday, that part, and then today there was a story about Amari Hardwick from Power, and how he was borrowing money from 50 Cent after season 1 and season 2. He was borrowing like 23,000 and I think 25,000 or something like that, because he didn't have it. Like he was borrowing money from 50 Cent, and I'm like, you as the star of the show, like literally,
because they have to pay all these other agents and all this other stuff. When they do start to make money, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then now he's making like 150,000.
When Power started. Because I don't think Power was expected to be as big
as what it was.
So
now they said he's making like 150,000 an episode or something like that. So he's making mad money, from it now.
Who's that you're talking about?
Amari Hardwick. You ever seen Power? It's on the Star.
Oh,
it's on Stars.
Ghost.
I just hear who you said. Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost. Ghost character, or the actor that plays Ghost. But yeah, he's now making like 150,000 per episode. But I was like, can you imagine? Like, he's probably getting paid pennies to have to borrow money after 2 seasons. Like, yeah, I didn't realize they didn't make that much money, but
yeah. I was shocked by her statistic too. Like, oh wow,
yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like I like too how she doesn't really credit just going to Juilliard for her craft, right? Like, it's like they trained you away, but they trained you away that's not diverse to everyone,
right?
To
it's
everyone.
the white way. That's how they trained them.
Yes, and so she was like, I was drowning because that's not me, But going to Africa, she really kind of, got in tune with herself. I thought that was just a nice story. And even what was it, the nurse that was like quiet the whole time? She said at the end she was hitting all the dance moves and whatnot. I feel like memories like that you'll never forget, like you really, that's when she found her own. And and when she came back, her world changed. That's when she's got her agent and all of that, because that was the whole point why she went to Juilliard. Right. So I feel like you always just hear someone say, oh, they went to Juilliard, they're perfect, but it sounds like it wasn't like that.
No. Oh, and then to the apartment. Now her friend Susan, what was her name? Susan?
That was crazy.
I was like, oh hell no! Like, I'm not living with mice again. We've been there, done that. Like, I'm not. No, ma'am. She got you for the okie doke.
I'm like, what month was it? You talking about you staying to the end of the year? Like,
yeah, I hope it's November. Like, something.
No, not even. I hope it was like December 29th.
Right.
Like,
yeah, Susan or whatever her name is. She got you for the okie doke. And then it was like everybody knew about that apartment except for her.
Except for her, yeah.
No way. Like, after the rats, there's no way you could have got me to stay in that apartment with, going to the bathroom in a closet and just mice eating your food in the cabinet. Nope. Yeah, couldn't be me. I was like, absolutely not.
Wait. Every time I read something about the mice, I would get up and be like, let me check my kitchen.
I know.
Me and my cousin was talking about it. She was like, I kept feeling like I thought something was on me. And I saw she was like, every time I read it, I was like, it's something on me.
Yeah. Couldn't do it.
I love the way Denzel just made room and space for her. That was very warming to me. Yes. When you see those that are there who have, quote unquote, made it, actually pulling back and helping someone, where they have identified talent to help boost their career. So I was really, really happy to see that, that is really who he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you want to believe that. So it's good to know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would just want to ask her why she did Michelle Obama lips like that in the movie.
Oh my God. I still need to watch that. Everybody's talking about
because that's what Michelle does with her lips.
But it's so exaggerated when Viola does it.
Michelle, it's way over exaggerated.
It is.
I just watched the first episode and like the very first scene, I was like, nah, Viola.
Right.
Viola.
It is so exaggerated and it's distract. She's doing an amazing job in the show, but the lips, it's distracting.
That's hilarious. Any other final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I do love that she put her face on the book, like it's close.
In the back too. Yes. Her as a little girl, like that was so cute to me.
Yeah, it's like it's basically telling everybody you thought this wasn't beautiful, but I'm on the cover of my book.
Mm-hmm.
She's stunning to me. I mean, I know, society and how we portray things and light skin, this and that. Like, I get it, but to me, like she's just stunning. I love her.
Yeah. I'm proud of her, and I love the fact that she is like a true sister and giving us something to look to. And that's not always the light-skinned sister that's, doing. I appreciate her all the more.
Representation. And I loved how she talked about the roles, like how she was always going to be the crack addict in a movie because of her, you know, that's all she was cast as and stuff like that. So it was nice to see How to Get Away with Murder, where she was cast as a successful woman who not only had a husband, a white husband at that, and you know, she had a boyfriend on the side. Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that.
I joined late. Hi, I joined late because I was at Girl Scout with my daughter. So I don't know if anyone brought up the trauma trigger earlier in the discussion. But if you didn't, it was for me at one point I had to put the book down and my therapist was like, you need to put this book away, because it was I didn't realize how much trauma it would trigger inside of me. And I think growing up, I guess sometimes in Black homes, or you know, domestic violence in any form, be it verbal or emotional or physical, it's kind of normalized sometimes in our culture, like, oh, you know, that's just how it is, until you get older and you realize how much it really affects you. So I was really it triggered memories that I didn't even know I had, that existed about when I was younger, because I'm doing trauma therapy now. And so that book was really raw, and I did have to do a few therapy sessions after it. But I love the fact that she did really bare her whole soul to us, because that's what she did. She bared it all. So
thank you for sharing that. And we did discuss that a little bit earlier, and we were just kind of glad that she put that out there to let, you know, people who have experienced things like this know that they're not alone, and to see where she came from and what she became too was such a beautiful thing. So thank you for sharing that with us. Any other thoughts? I do want to give a shout out to Paul, because I know he's been sitting in here quiet, listening to us.
Yeah,
Look,
God, I was hoping to like ease out and not come like under the radar.
Listen,
and
I
no
couldn't
one's
let
gonna
you
say
go
anything.
unnoticed. I couldn't let you go unnoticed, because I think like this is the first time in almost 5 years that we've ever had a guy bump in here, right? Like I don't think that we've ever. So it was awesome to see you come in here, and I did kind of like give them the heads up that you were coming in here when I accepted it, because I was like, listen, guys, don't be going in too hard on the men in here and stuff.
Oh no, I welcome all of that. Go in. I really enjoyed this book. I would say that, and I think as someone who was raised in poverty, and that survival mindset is really one of those things that it follows you, you know, and it's one of those things. And I think I can't remember who said it, but the trauma healing process, that journey, it's one of those things that you have to let go. Well, I had to learn to let go, because it follows you in every aspect of your life. And mine followed me in relationships. It followed me in my career. It followed me in even wanting to figure out where I wanted to live once I grew up. And it took a lot of money and a lot of therapy and a lot of time and a lot of relearning or unlearning. And I think that was one of the biggest things I walked away with that. I felt so seen, because I thought, but sometimes it feels like it's just me, you know, like, dang, this journey, it's long, it's hard, this road is tough. And no matter how hard I fight to escape this, I feel like bits and pieces just keep showing up. But, you know, she's a testament to, you know, this doesn't have to be who you are. You know, you can make it out, and you don't have to turn your back on it when you make it out. You can still love your people where they are. And you know, my favorite thing is I can love you from over here. Like I don't have to be in that space to connect and share with you, but I can love you from here and still sharing those moments with you, but still celebrate the fact that, you know, I made it out. And so I think that was really big for me. And the thing with Oprah, where she mentioned that, you know, the forgiveness and having grace for your parents, because they don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things that I'm still working through that process with my parents. So I kind of connect with that. You know, in my head, it's like, man, you're supposed to protect me. You're supposed to, you know, provide and do these things. And, you know, as I'm in my 30s now, so it's like I'm accepting that, you know, people really don't know what they don't know. Because I think about all the dumb stuff I've done, and I was like, God, I'm here by the grace of God, because you don't know what you really don't know what you don't know, and I'm trying to find space to extend that to my parents. You know, we're all getting older, and I want to kind of have that relationship. And it was like she has a relationship that I would like to reach one day. And so I walked away just with a lot of nuggets and just a lot of optimism for what can happen and what it can look like on the other side.
I'm so glad you touched on that, because that's one thing that we didn't mention was how she was able to forgive her parents. I think that was such a huge piece that I took away from the book. And I think she even talks about it with Oprah.
She does.
A little more in depth about the forgiveness that she gave her parents. So I'm so glad that you touched on that. I do want to say thank you for like opening up and speaking. Like, it's so nice to have a male perspective, you know, in our book club chat. You know, we're used to us just having women in here. So it was lovely to hear what you had to say and how you related to the book and your experience and stuff like that. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
You represented the male voice well.
I was gonna say, how did you? I was gonna ask, how did you find us? Did it Instagram?
I'm an avid reader. I was an English teacher for about 4.5 years, and now I work in communications. And so I follow a lot of, I guess, bookstagrams, I think is the word. And so, but I am an avid reader of Black literature, Black writing. And so I'm always kind of stalking the account. And this was just the one time I was like, I'm gonna join. I'm gonna jump in.
Listen, we don't discriminate. Like I mean, it usually is typically all Black women, because that's mostly what that is what we read, books by Black women. So this is normally what it is. But I mean, we don't discriminate. We've had white women on here before a time or two. We'd love for men to be here. Like, I'm so happy that you didn't like step in this room and then immediately exit stage left because you saw a bunch of women in here. So I really appreciate you sticking around and participating today. That was awesome.
Thank you. And I will say one last thing, if I can, is I firmly believe, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on, is that Black women are the best writers to ever write. And I cannot find anyone that can top that. Like, every time I read a book by a Black woman, it's just phenomenal. And that's not me trying to gas and trying to get attention, but I've felt that way since I was in high school. And I really developed a love for reading. And I'm just like, women can just write like nobody. They can tell a story. They're like the most phenomenal storytellers in life. And I can never get enough of that.
I concur. And again, that's what Book Girl Magic is about. But like, even outside of our book club selections, 95% of what I read is by Black women. Like, it's just what I gravitate towards. So I totally feel you on that. It just, I mean, we write some powerful stories. There's just so many good books and so little time. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Anybody else have any last minute thoughts?
We have to ask our question. What is everybody reading now?
I'm about to start Where the Crawdads Sing, because it's about to be a movie in July. So I've decided to start there. I haven't really gotten into it. I've read like a page, but that I wanted to take a day off from reading, since I went so hard in May with 4 books. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna start off with this month, and we'll see what happens. What about you guys?
I'm reading. I'm told that it's gonna be a series or something. I think I saw on Facebook.
Which one?
Black Cake.
Yes, somebody just posted that today. So I actually just added that to my summer pile. It on Hulu, yeah. I added that to my summer pile today.
Black Cake is definitely, that's on my summer. And then for my job, we're having a convening next week, and Imani Perry is our keynote speaker. So her book,
she's on my list.
To America, I'm gonna try to fly through that before the convening next week. I think she's Thursday.
That's on my summer list. I have the ebook and I bought the audiobook. So that's definitely one I'm gonna read this summer as well.
Yeah. Which book was that?
Imani Perry, what's the name of it?
Okay.
South to America. Is it South to America? It's about the South, and it's nonfiction.
Okay.
I'm reading Don't Cry for Me, and that book,
It's awesome.
It's awesome, but it's also gut wrenching.
It is.
To see from a Black father's perspective, like, all I really want is to teach you how to survive, to work and eat. And that was his father's main thing. And I think about Black men now, like how it really gave me an insight into maybe the minds of Black men. Like they might be strict at home or not. They don't have the room for emotion because they're just really trying to provide and survive, just like his dad did. And so he didn't have the space for his, the extra. But I'm into just a few chapters, but it's just really heart-wrenching. But it's a lovely book. It really is a lovely book about healing, and
that just made me think of Kendrick Lamar's song "Daddy Issues." It's just out, but the lyrics, if you've heard it, I've only heard it because my son blasts it all the time. The album, but it's like once you start, it's like just noise until I'm like, oh wait a minute, oh it's Kendrick, like he's gonna be talking about something, right? And I thought those lyrics were, I was like, wow, okay, so yeah, it talks about the dad's expectation and then the limiting of emotion and how that impacted him to just be raised to be strong.
Yeah.
I'm
Holly
reading
said,
Silver Sparrow. I'm reading Silver Sparrow. I just decided, let me jump in it. Hopefully I won't be ready to fight like I was after American Marriage.
That was a book club read, wasn't it, guys?
Yes, I heard about that. But I also want to say my twin sister and my cousin, I invited them to the group a couple of days ago, and they have been on the live the entire time, and I'm so happy.
Hey! Welcome.
Because I know they get sick of me talking about it all the time. I'm like, y'all gotta come. These are the best meetings.
I love it. And that's what I said. I try to get people like that are active in the group. I'm like, if you just come to the meetings, I promise you we have the best time just sitting here talking. Like, so I love when we have a good turnout like this. We had, I think 28 was the cap, what I saw in here, but I was wasn't the 61 that I wanted, but I will take 28. Hey, so this was awesome. Holly said that she just finished Black Cake and she's currently reading Memphis. I've got to bump Black Cake up. Memphis was really good. I like Memphis.
I need to bump both of those up.
Well, this is Nicole's twin sister, Naquana, talking.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks for having me. And I will have to say, I was an avid reader, but my cousin Erica, who's on, and my sister Nicole telling me about Viola's book jump-started my reading. Yay. And I read like 5-6 books this May, but I started with Viola, and it was because my sister said, the first words on the book, and Erica was like, and they both were like, we heard it. She was like, cocksucker. And I was like, I gotta get this book. And so I went and started and dropped it in my cart and went and picked it up that same day. And it was great because I'm a therapist. So then like seeing the trauma and hearing her being like, yes, going to get therapy. I was like, yay, thanks for saying that. Yeah. But right now, I was telling my cousin I couldn't decide between the two, but I chose to go with Just As I Am by Cicely Tyson. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Great choice.
Yeah,
great choice. If you guys are looking for some other memoirs, I think Nicole, it was you that mentioned that this was the first one that you listened to. Another one of my favorites was Will. To listen via audiobook, and then Mariah Carey, if you're a Mariah Carey fan, hers is awesome too because she sings in it as well. And Will Smith does music in his too, but like the experience of hearing them sing the songs that they wrote, it's amazing. So those are two I would definitely add on the audiobook list if you're fans of Will and Mariah.
I'm not a Mariah fan, but her book was good. Her audiobook was good. I tried to watch her Mariah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a fan of Mariah. I don't know what it is.
I wasn't.
The book was
for her after the
grew
book.
up with Dream Lover as the cassette tape. Like I remember getting it for Christmas. Like that.
I think the book gave me, because I had fallen out of love with her, but the book gave me a different appreciation for her. But I will wholeheartedly co-sign listening to memoirs read by the author, even though Cicely Tyson's was good on audio as well.
Yes, it was.
But recently I read, also add to your list, Billy Porter.
Woo! Yes,
I gotta read that one.
Cry. You will
Jennifer
cry.
Lewis
Listen to him singing. Yes. Read it. You'll cry.
I know it now, Talisha.
Oh,
and then I started listening to Andre Leon Kelly today.
Add Tunde Oyeneyin if it's, Jess and I are huge Peloton, but you don't even have to be a Peloton fan. It's such a great memoir.
No, you don't. Yes.
Speak. So good. She's amazing.
Amazing.
Like, it was awesome to hear her story too. So add that one, Speak by Tunde Oyeneyin.
And Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah is good.
Noah.
Yep, that's a good one. Yeah, I love memoirs, especially when I love to listen to them. They're amazing.
Diane Carroll has a very good memoir.
Mm-hmm.
And she narrates, and it's hilarious.
It's not about legs. Something about
the legs are the first to go.
Gilbert. It's like Marion Gilbert reading the whole book. So it's
Dad, just die.
Yes. Like, the whole time I was just smiling. Like it was good. It was good to hear her voice, as it is with memoirs. You like to hear the person tell the story. The same with Taraji. She was good.
I have the physical
is that
book,
your
but
real background? Like, is that you, or is that a fake background?
No, it's a virtual.
Okay, because I'm like, what is wrong with you?
I know. Let me look
Everything
at your
is so
shelves.
neat. Like, Marie Kondo up there. I started looking around my room like, what's out of place?
Oh, I need
hilarious. Anybody else want to share real quick what they're reading?
I'm reading Black, White, Jewish by Rebecca Walker, Alice Walker's daughter.
You are on like an Alice Walker trip. You've
I'm
been
in
on
a rabbit hole right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in this rabbit hole. After reading her book, I was like, I'm way behind in my Alice Walker. So I just read my first poetry book by her. And
nice.
And I'm just like, where have I been? I've just been
we will read The Color Purple. I know I've said this before.
I read it after I read the memoirs. I was like, okay, I got to read Color Purple. I just had to read it like immediately.
I think I can't remember what month, but it'll be towards.
I'll be ready.
I think it's gonna be the last quarter, but I think I'm gonna save like all of those Alice Walker books, like whatever book I think it was Jamie had us buy about the movie, The Color Purple. I still have that.
Yeah, it was like that.
That we all purchased for like $1.99
I
or whatever it
purchased
was.
it, but I forget who recommended it. I just got on the
bandwagon. Good though. It was really
so
good.
that I'll do Alice Walker's book that she recently came out with and The Color Purple. I'll probably do them all in the same month just to kind of go together.
Let me
add.
It's
really good because it's her journals. It's like her actual
journals. Yeah, I'm excited for that because you guys have been raving. I want to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, I was saying with the Color Purple, there are 2 audio versions. If you listen to it, you need to listen to Alice's version. It is amazing to hear her read that book.
Now I'm trying to figure out
what's her name. Samara Wiley from Orange is the New Black Red. The other one I was like,
I listened to Alice.
Like I started
to figure out which one I have because
I started listening to the sample and I was like, nah.
I have the one by Alice Walker.
It was good to hear her voice.
I have the one by Alice Walker.
She puts a different inflection because there are a lot of things, of course, that came from the movie that you show is ugly. She reads it differently.
Right? But she didn't even like the movie,
right?
Really?
She's like, I hate this movie, but she's like, well, you guys seem to like it.
What's crazy to me is though I read the book I've seen the movie probably 100 times, right? And then I read the book probably 5 years ago or something like that. But I felt like they did such a good job because the book was like to a T almost to me of what the movie was. I was like, okay, they changed some stuff, but it wasn't like even the lines. Like I was laughing while reading the book because I was like, wow, they really,
To me, after I read the book, I was like, well, I would have liked more of the redemption arc in the movie because we didn't really get that. It was like, Mr. wasn't really redeemed to the extent that he was redeemed in the book. And Celie didn't have that full circle that she had in the book, that they portrayed in the movie. So it was like I could see where she was saying, and she was like, "Oh, the Africa scenes were totally off. That's not how it was." So she wasn't happy. But I was like, the movie's never as good as the book,
right?
And so as the author, I would probably be there like, "That's not how. That's not."
Yeah.
Even though she was on set and she, was a part of the production, she felt like, "Oh, they're cutting all the good stuff, and they didn't do this right." And so eventually she came to deal with the movie. But she was like, when she first started, I think she said she cried.
And I think for me, like knowing that a lot of movies are changed a lot from what the book originally was, I felt like The Color Purple was still pretty close to right. Yeah. So I felt like they did a great job in that aspect of they didn't steer too far away from her original art.
And maybe that's because she was there.
Right.
Like, she was there. But still, when she saw the final, after they cut, edit, did all that, she was just like,
I mean, and it was long enough though. Can you imagine? Like,
right.
So I guess
Can we add any
movies
more
are longer, but back then that was a long movie. This is what Marvel was doing, almost 3-hour movies. But yeah.
Yeah, I felt sorry for her. She said she saw it and then she went back with like family and friends, and they seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah,
and that's what got her to be kind of like, okay, well, maybe this is okay. Maybe this will be good for people.
Right.
But for her, it was still like,
yeah, you messed up my baby.
My baby.
Yeah. Awesome. Look, Talicia said, we need a thread for good books to read for Pride Month. Good idea. We can definitely start one. I'll see if I can find some articles. With that, what are we? June book of the month. I'm like, what month are we? You made a fool of me, a fool of death with your beauty. Is our June book of the month. So make sure y'all grab that. I've heard nothing but great things about this story. So yeah, I'm excited to read that one as well. And hopefully we will see y'all back next month.
Yes, and then for all the TV people, we know what tonight is, The Real Housewives of Dubai.
Yeah, I'm already missing Beverly Hills right now. I need to go.
Valley comes back Friday.
I read Garcelle's book and that made me want to watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Look, I have a pile of like summer books, and Garcelle's is on there. Although I've heard mixed reviews of her book.
It was decent. Like I was surprised that I stayed engaged, because I don't know anything about her and I'm not a fan. So
okay. Did you watch the Jamie Foxx show?
I did. That's the last thing I've watched.
Do you remember her in?
I was like, I know Fancy, and like I don't like I didn't know anything else. But it was a good book. Like I'm not,
I like her in the R. Kelly video. Wasn't that her in Down Low?
Yes, it was her. It was her.
Oh, thanks for telling us, because I didn't remember that.
Yeah. She's in that, and then The Real just finished.
Yeah.
It got nixed, so she was on that.
And she had tried out for The View, and it was horrible.
Oh, good. Bev said, I enjoyed Garcelle's book, didn't want it to end. It's on I have a summer pile of books because I'm making the kids read like 5 books, this summer, and I've got my pile, so Garcelle is in there too. So I'll definitely be hitting that up. I think I'm gonna do the audio because it's on Scribe. So
I did it, and she's I always like it when people tell their own story. So,
and if you want to laugh, like if you want something really light and you want to laugh, read Tiffany Haddish. It is absolutely hilarious.
She's a lot.
No, it was a fun listen. I agree. I enjoyed it, but that was years ago, and I don't remember much. But I laughed. I did laugh a lot.
Yes, I laughed a lot.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining tonight. It was awesome as usual. We actually went for an hour and a half. Oh gosh, hey, I was like, we have another man on here. Look, Paul, you are not alone. Hey, Vaughn. Hilarious. Y'all got me crying up here. I'm actually coughing to death. All right. Thank you guys for a great chat, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.